Welcome to the T.REX Armory. This is going to be a historic video because we are finally going to answer one of the longest debated questions on the entire internet. What is better, 1911 or Glock? Now, as you know, here at T.REX Arms, we like Glocks quite a bit, and I like Glocks quite a bit. If you've watched some of our videos, you will have seen us talk about why we like Glocks, why we trust them out of the box, even history lessons on how Glock came to be and why it is superior. But what you may not know is I actually have a real soft spot for the 1911. This is a 1911 that I got by, well, actually trading a Glock for it. It's a terrible 1911 on paper. It's a combination of different freaking parts, but a friend of mine who knows what he's doing tuned this thing and it actually runs super well. We parkerized it ourselves, which is why it looks like it does. But this is actually a much better 1911 than it has any right to be. And I like it a lot for all kinds of things, just not so much for carry because of the magazine capacity and the various other 1911 issues. But it's reliable, I trust it, it shoots well, and it shoots super nice. So, is it possible that we could combine the very best features from the 1911 John and Moses Browning Special and the Gaston Glock tactical Tupperware of the 80s into a single perfect platform, a Glock 1911, if you will? That is what Stealth Arms has tried to do with the Platypus. This thing is neither beast nor foul. It is supposedly the best of both worlds. And this is exactly what I've wanted from the beginning of my time learning about guns. Something that has a 1911 trigger, some class to it, but the reliability and coolness that comes with running Glock mags. So this is the Platypus.
Perry the Platypus!
In the flesh. We've watched it on the internet for a while, we've seen reviews of it, but after playing around with their web configurator and customizer for a long time, I finally couldn't stand it anymore and I just bought one so that we could try it out. Now, in some ways, I'm a little bit skeptical because I have bought and shot a number of Glock killers over the years and they've never been as good as the real thing. And then, of course, there are 2011s. We've been getting 2011s in the shop and testing them and making holsters for them and shooting them and fixing them and doing stuff with them for some time. So my opinion of the 2011, even though I prefer the double stack magazine and vastly increased capacity as well as the ability to shoot 9 and have some modernized features like light rails, that's all phenomenal, but my actual trust level for 2011s over the years is a little lower than you might expect. So I was hoping against hope that this would be the best possible gun and afraid to actually test it just in case it wasn't. So now that it's actually here, what do we think? Well, it turns out I'm not actually the best person to test this thing, even though I might be the most emotionally involved in hoping that it is as cool as I want it to be. We really need somebody else to run some rounds with this thing. I have shot it and I really like it, and I've had excellent results with stock magazines. I've actually had a couple of issues with some of the extenders, particularly this one. That gave me a couple of minor ejection issues that I haven't gotten to the bottom of. But with the regular Glock mags, which is part of the real appeal of this gun, I really enjoy how it runs. And so the best thing to do is to give it to a couple people that have a bunch more trigger time. Brandon, I'm really eager to get his thoughts on the usability and reliability of this gun because he's great at killing stuff as a Marine, stuff that can be killed by Marines doesn't deserve to live, even though that's pretty much every single thing on the planet and most machines.
You shattered it, didn't you?
And then Brantley has a huge amount of time as a competition shooter, so he'll let us know how this thing actually performs as a precision piece of death-dealing instrumentation. I'm a little bit torn, but I'm super eager to find out what happens next.
Five, 7, 2. I had the safety on for the first attempt.
let's get into it. All right, so we're about to get into the comparison evaluation. Yeah, that's right. So we're going to be comparing this pistol to our Glock 17. So Brantley, obviously USPSA Grandmaster shooter, one of the best Glock shooters in the world. He has his one of his Glock 17s he's going to be comparing this pistol against, and I will be comparing against mine, my mediocre performing Glock 17, because I'm the mediocre shooter behind it. It's actually has nothing to do with the pistol. But anyways. So we have the Platypus. So the reason why we're going to be comparing it to these Glock 17s, because these are the pistols we shoot the most, by far the most often. And we're not actually going to be testing this pistol to see if it's super reliable or super durable. We're going to be seeing that as we shoot the pistol as we normally would. And now Brantley and I do shoot pistols a little differently. Mainly USPSA style shooting. I do practical shooting too, but I compete in the tactical games mainly, so I will be doing a lot of accuracy based shooting with this today. So what I'm actually looking to get out of this evaluation today is if I'm going to swap to a Platypus for a competition, because 2011s, 1911s do dominate the competition world in the tactical games because of mainly the triggers. Single hand shooting is a big part of the sport, so being able to have a single stage lightweight trigger is obviously going to be more beneficial versus any striker fired pistol out there. So that's what I'm going to be looking for today. I'm actually, if I like this, I might buy one today. But before I hand it off to Brantley, main difference between 2011s and 1911s, that's a very common misconception, is that 1911s, the only main difference between 1911s and 2011s, there are a few differences, is that the frame on 1911s are one piece. So if you look at staccatos, for example, that are 2011s, it's a two-piece frame. So the basically the top portion of the frame is all metal, and then you have a polymer grip module, essentially. So this is a 1911 because the grip module is one piece. It has nothing to do with it being double stack, nothing to do with it being 9mm. It's just because the grip module is one piece. So if this had if this was a double stack 45 or a single stack 45, it'd still be a 1911. But if it was a single stack 45 with a two-piece grip module, it'd be a 2011.
So what I'm looking for as I'm shooting this gun is kind of like Brandon said, more of my style of shooting, the practical shooting of how fast you can go with this pistol while maintaining accuracy. Not so much of like super precise shots, but like general A-zone or good A-zone hits and what that may be. My main interest is going to be actually how it compares to a Glock or a 2011, because this is a 1911, just like Brandon said. It has the one-piece frame, but it's kind of based around a 2011, meaning it should be able to control the recoil a little bit better than a Glock because it's a heavier frame. But one thing in particular I don't like about this gun in general, just from a spec sheet, is the frame is aluminum, which kind of sucks, because what a steel frame, 2011 or even like a Shadow 2, what it has going for you is the weight of the frame, versus a Glock or another polymer gun has the polymer to kind of absorb the recoil, or you have steel to kind of just control it. Aluminum doesn't give you any flexibility like the polymer gives you, and not as much weight of the steel. So it's going to be interesting to see actually how that compares to the Glock specifically, but also previous knowledge that we have of shooting 2011s.
Yeah, so if you take an aluminum baseball bat and hit it against something hard, all that vibration goes back to your hands. That's a similar thing that you're going to experience with aluminum frame pistols.
Exactly. The M&P metal series is a lot like that. Not a lot of guys run that because it has the aluminum frame. But we're going to be doing, looking into that and seeing how that goes. We're going to be firing about 1,500 rounds a piece with this. We have some Winchester 115, we've already preloaded the mags. We have some Winchester 147 grain hollow points, and then some ZQI 124, just to kind of see what this ammo, what this gun likes in terms of ammo, if it likes one better than the other or whatever it may be. And we're going to shoot some drills, shoot some accuracy base, shoot some practical shootings, and then do some direct head-to-head comparison with the Glocks and see how she does.
Yeah, so we're going to we're going to start with zeroing the pistol. Now, to be clear, this pistol has about 300 to 400 rounds on it, so we did get a good break-in on it. Don't have the exact round count, but like I said, between 300 to 400 rounds. But we're going to do a 5-round group at 25 yards with each of the ammos we have out here. So 115 grain FMJ, 124 grain FMJ, and then we have some 147 hollow points. Now, a couple other things to note as we go. This magwell, it's not the pistol, unlike other pistols out there, does not like some extended mags that we have, and we're aware of all of those, but we're still going to use the mags just because they're preloaded, and we have a lot of rounds to get through, and we have, you know, other stuff to do besides film. So if we run into some issues and it's because of a mag issue that we're already aware of, we'll just note it, just to understand it has nothing to do with the pistol. Another thing to note is we don't make holsters for this pistol, so we are using a P320 holster for this. So if you see our draws are a little funky, it's because we're using a holster not at all designed for this. It does kind of work, but yeah. So the way this is gonna go, I'm gonna do all the shooting that I'm gonna do first. We have one camera guy, we have one platypus here, so I'm gonna get through everything. I'm gonna do a bunch of shooting with just this pistol, and then like Brantley said, I'm gonna do some comparison-based shooting, so going back and forth between the Glock and the platypus, and then I'm gonna hand it off to Brantley. Brantley's not gonna know any of my opinions until the very end, where Isaac, Brantley, and I, we're all gonna talk about the pistol and give final thoughts. So we got a lot of shooting, let's get into it. Okay, so first 5-round group we just did Winchester 115 grain, so this is just our range ammo. I'm a little to the right here, but at 25 yards, this is off a bag, as you guys saw, not too bad. So I'm just gonna bring it over and we're gonna move to the next ammo. All right, so the 124 grain, this one was me, I pulled that shot, so we got a pretty good 4-round group, and then me being a sucky shooter, yanked that shot down. So Winchester 147 hollow points next. So the group's about the same. It looks better because it's all on there, unlike the other ones, but we're looking at about 1 3/4 to 2 inches. The 115 grain is definitely about more of a 2-inch, maybe 2.5 inch group. So the pistol is very accurate. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm actually gonna shoot the Glock. This is gonna be our first comparison of the day with the same ammos, just to see the accuracy differences. All right, so down here at the bottom, we'll start with the best group we have with the Glock. So these 5 were the platypus, these 5 were the Glock. This is the 147 grain. As expected, hollow points are generally more accurate. So with the Glock, the platypus about the same. Now we move on up to the worst target. So I was aiming here with the Winchester 115 grain. I got one in there, and then these 4 are the next one. So we gotta, I don't know what's going on there, I'll be honest. I don't know why that would cause that. So this is the pistol I've been competing with. I do use different ammo. It hasn't failed me. So yeah, not sure what's going on with this gun and that ammo. Then we move on down. So these were the 5 from the platypus. So I had a good 4-inch group. I dropped one, and then we have these 5 spread out. So this is the ZQI 124 grain. So I did re-zero this optic before nationals 2 weeks ago for, what ammo did I use? I used PPU 124 grain, so expect it a little bit different, but shouldn't be all that much. So, so far, platypus is more accurate. Now let's get into the more fun shooting. So it was a 292 reload. Not the fastest, just getting used to that. It's basically a 2-hand reload because I can't reach that with my thumb. So I'm reloading and then having to hit this. And I haven't shot 1911s a long time, so I'm getting used to actually having to deal with a thumb safety on a pistol again. So weird how it pops out on the first round. We're getting some issues with the extendo. It's weird that it wants to pop out after the first round. Let's try the, so that's the Arredondo. The Zev extended base pads work fine. The Arredondos are being a little weird, so we're gonna try the Henning group. That feels a lot better. Okay. Same thing. Like after the first round, it falls out. So weird. I basically ND'd that first shot.
Is that an ND?
I was like waiting for a 2-stage trigger.
I was like, you just called me.
So we're 500 rounds in, did all of the Winchester 115 grain. No issues with the gun. It was all just stand and deliver static type stuff. I'm really getting used to 1911s again, mainly just using a safety. So when I activate this safety with my thumb, this part of my hand is just really in the way and it seems like it's stuck. So I'm just getting used to that. If I were to buy one of these, I'd probably just not get an ambi safety personally as a right-hand shooter. But yeah, no issues with the gun so far. The only issues we're running into has nothing to do with the gun. It's just the holster not being the correct holster. So when I draw the gun, I'm hitting the magazine release button, and on like first round, I'm shooting, the magazine's falling out, but it's not the gun's fault. But other than that, the extended mags are working just fine so far. So now we're shooting to the ZQI 124 grain, and we're just gonna do some practical USPSA style shooting for the next 500 rounds or so. That was a lot better, but I realized I couldn't shoot the targets in that order. I would have shot one of the boxes, so had to leave a target. Dude, I can't go any faster. I was at 10:23 and I think I missed like 4. Everything went wrong. I don't even want to show the hits. Don't look. Don't look. All right, so one of the problems with using a holster that's not for this gun is if I twist the gun on my draw, I'll hit the magazine button on the gun and the magazine comes out. So just a, that's what happened there, all right? So 1,000 rounds in, just finished up 500 rounds of the ZQI ammo. Still no malfunctions with the gun. I will say this grip texture is aggressive. It's hurting my little fingies a little bit. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna grab the 147 hollow points. I'm not gonna get through all 1,500 rounds on this gun today. I should get pretty close though. But with the 147 grains, we're gonna do the comparison evaluation directly with the Glock. So we're gonna do drills going back and forth between my Glock 17 and this pistol. So I think that's where we're gonna get the best information. But so far, this gun is shooting great. I really love it. The only thing I hate about it, and it's just the nature of 1911s, is thumb safeties, particularly ambi safeties. So I already mentioned it, but if I were to buy one, just do a non-ambi safety because it's just getting in the way of my hand. So first drill we're going to do is a very simple designated target drill. So I got just 2 targets, 1 piece of steel. This guy's about 5-7 yards. He's about 10, and the steel is about 15 or so. I'm going to do 3 on this paper, steel, 3 on that paper, steel, and finish on the paper I started on with another 3. I'm going to do that twice, just going the other way. I'm going to do this a total of 3 times with each pistols, and we're just going to see if there's a score difference between the two. So with this drill, really what we're looking at is just the ability to transition quickly with the gun, how fast I can shoot the gun because I can really rip this close target, and then there's a little bit of accuracy involved with that piece of steel. So just a quick note, I've at 1,000 rounds on the pistol, like I already said, and this gun had about 300 to 400 rounds on it before we started. And this gun was only lubricated when we first got it, when it first came in. So we took it apart when we first got it, dropped some oil on it, and it hasn't been lubricated yet. And it's still pretty smooth. It's getting a little sticky, but overall, not too bad. So we're gonna start with the platypus. .449 and a .453. Check the hits. And then 13 alphas. All right, so 3 deltas, 2 Charlie, 13 alphas between those 2 runs with the platypus. So we're gonna do the Glock next, and we're just gonna go back and forth, do it for a total of 3 times with each gun. Okay, 533. I will say transitioning back and forth is a little different because the grip angles are quite a bit different, so I mic there. But that's why we're gonna do this 3 times each. .469. We have our first malfunction. So, like I said, the gun's getting a little grimy as I can feel the reciprocation slowing down. I might be getting to the point where we need to oil it, but it's definitely ooh, that's a nasty one actually. Got stuck in there. All right, so pretty interesting results from this. This is a really simple designated target drill, and I really expected the Glock to perform better than it did. But I will say shooting with the platypus all day is definitely gonna incur some variable here. And also that platypus does have a significantly different grip angle somehow, even though it's using Glock mags. I don't know how that works, but it is what it is. So when I was presenting the Glock, the dot was much higher than I was expecting. Like I said, already shot 1,000 rounds on the platypus. Not to make excuses for the Glock, but just trying to note a variable here. But all that to say, the Glock was slower than the platypus on every single run, and the hits were worse. So overall, the platypus just shot better, to be honest. I think it was just from being used to the grip angle all day. The transitions were about the same. The platypus does shoot softer, has a better trigger. So, I mean, really the only thing that I'm better at with the Glock as of right now is the draw, because I don't have to deal with that thumb safety. So what we're gonna do next, we're gonna do some accuracy-based shooting. So I'm just gonna set up a target. We're gonna just basically try and get the best groups possible, not under a time strain or anything, with both the guns, and see how we do. So the accuracy comparison we're going to do is going to be with these little circles here, obviously. So we're going to shoot a 10 round group with just standing freestyle, so not supported by anything, under no timer. So we're going to do 10 rounds with both hands, 10 rounds with just single hand, and then 10 rounds with the left hand. So with both hands, we're going to go back to the 25 and shoot a group at one of these. We're going to move up to the 15 for strong hand only, and then we're going to move up to the 7 for support hand only. And we're going to do that with both pistols and kind of just see how it goes. Call that a malfunction. It's getting a little grimy. Not trying to make excuses for the gun here, but just trying to point out some variables. But loose grip, grimy gun, chance of malfunction goes up. Shouldn't do it every time though. Yeah, see, now I'm gripping the gun tight, trying to get it out. All right, so 25-yard group, standing freestyle. This is okay. This is not great. I started noticing the shots were going high, so I adjusted a little bit to fix it. But what I'm trying to say is this group's actually better than what it appears. So I'm aiming here, shots were here, so I started to bring it down, and these were my last 4. So started with a good group here, fixed the group that's there. This is nuts. Actually, this is really good for single hand. This was my second shot. I winged it, and this was actually my last shot. I was just getting pretty excited how good this group is. So this is for my sport, specifically for the tactical games. We do a lot of single hand shooting. This is what I want to see. Be able to do this with a gun that tight of a group at 15 yards is really good. So here at 7 yards, doing support hand only. The group had some variables because of those malfunctions. I started gripping the gun a little tighter, but this is still pretty good. I'm actually pretty happy with that. So let's see how good we can do with the Glock. So 25 yards again, same thing with the as the Platypus. I will note that I have a Glock performance trigger in this gun, so it's not a stock trigger. This is really the first time I've actually shot the trigger. I actually don't mind it. It's not too bad. So here we go. So direct comparison between the Platypus and the Glock. So 25 yards, we got a similar group size. I will say, I don't think there's going to be, you shouldn't notice much of a difference with your, what I'm going to call your practical accuracy, as in being able to shoot the pistol accurately without support. You shouldn't notice much of a difference between shocker fired pistols and these guns with single stage triggers that are really nice triggers when you're shooting with both hands. So that's about what we have here. The Platypus is still definitely better. We're still dealing with a mushy, heavy trigger that's going to tend to yank a little bit more. Tend the shooter to yank the trigger a little bit more, and that's what we have going on here. Now, again, this is where the Platypus 1911, 2011s are going to shine when it comes to this accuracy type shooting with pistols, is the single hand shooting. So Platypus support hand or strong hand only, really good group. The Glock, obviously not as good. I was able to hit it once, but it's just, there's a lot of tension going on trying to pull that much heavier of a trigger, and you just tend to yank it when you're shooting support hand, and that's what we got going here. Support hand only actually did pretty good. This is not a bad group. I will say probably should have increased the distance here, maybe to 10 yards to open these groups up a little bit, but the Platypus was still more consistent and still a little bit tighter than the Glock. So one drill left for a direct comparison. We're just going to do an in and out drill just to kind of evaluate the differences with the practical shooting ability between both pistols. I don't think we should notice much, but we're going to try it out anyways. You've seen us do this drill quite a bit. This is just in and out. So I just got 3 targets. I shoot one, and then the second target I shoot on the retreats, enter into a position, shoot one, come back towards the target I shot on the retreat, shoot it while on the advance, and then finish on the target that I started on. So pretty simple. Should only take about 10 seconds. We're gonna do the same thing, back and forth, Glock and Platypus. But this time we're gonna start with the Glock because she's not getting much love, and I'm not doing that well with her. So we're gonna try and crank it up a notch with her. So here we go. It doesn't get much uglier than that. Much smoother, 10-11, 10-11. So the Glock loses yet again. The best run I had was with the Platypus, both accuracy and time-wise. There is a lot of variable here with just the movement, but being able to get into position and also shooting while not on a stable platform, as in like retreating and advancing, does show a lot about the recoil of the gun, and the Platypus is just softer. So I like the Platypus. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna hand it off to Brantley. He's gonna take it through his paces, and then we're all gathered at the Armory and give some opinions. So just to summarize, round count so far, you saw the malfunction shooting left-handed with that limp wrist. It didn't oil it or clean it again after that, and we didn't have any malfunctions here, so we're just getting to that point where it just needs some oil. So Brantley's gonna field strip it, oil it up, and then he'll take it through the paces.
All right, so Brandon just completed his shooting of the Platypus. Now it's my turn. One thing I think that he noticed was it was kind of getting a little grimy and sluggish, so I went ahead and broke the pistol down and just kind of did a field strip, brushed out some of the grime, all that carbon kind of built up, and oiled it up and put it all back together, and it's definitely a little bit smoother now. And to start out, I'm going to do the same kind of start that Brandon did of the just group the pistols with different ammo. I'm going to go ahead and say right now and go ahead and get all my excuses out of the way that I suck at grouping pistols. So I don't know how this is going to go. We'll see you together. All right, so this was the Winchester 115 group. This was the ZQI. I had a little bit of a flyer there. And this was the Winchester 147 grain. So, I think this is an accurate pistol. I just think that I can't shoot groups. Now I'm going to try to paste up the hits that are not in this kind of shoot and see stuff, and I'll do it with my Glock. Alright, so as you can see, I suck, but that's okay. So this was the Winchester 115 group. I got 4 shots down here, which were pretty close together, which I'm kind of happy about. And then I think one of these were probably with this group. This was the ZQI, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then one of those is up here. This was the Winchester 147 grain, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So out of 15 shots, 1 hit the little target, so yay. So the doubles drill is not about what your target looks like, although you can glean information from it. What actually you want to know is actually what you're seeing on the dot. So what I saw on the dot was a couple times I'd drag it high and get some shots up here. Also a couple times I would have a little bit of like trigger freeze or not resetting the trigger, and I would end up dragging the dot down here, which is resulting in a bunch of these shots. These right here, I'm pretty happy with. So it's kind of me forgetting to do some stuff is resulting in these kind of weird shots. But overall, the gun shoots kind of pretty good. I noticed, especially with like shooting a Glock, I can run my support hand like really high up. Versus this one, I had to like artificially just hold it super low. So it just kind of feels weird. So I'm gonna have to get used to that. But overall, shoots decent so far. We'll keep going. Yamper. Oh, Brandon was right. So because we don't make a specific holster for this, when you put the gun in, the magazine button really hits. So when you push on the gun, the mag can come out. Oh. Shocker, I know. .953. That was the build drill rundown from Matt Pranka at X-Ray Alpha. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 4 rounds out. So that was a hit factor of 756. Let's do better. Whew, a little squirrely on the second position with a 969. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 2 Charlie. Well, as you can see, I just got killed in the streets by coming off the reload or coming off the position, support hand riding so high that I could not like disengage the manual safety. So don't do that. All right, the next step in the evaluation process for the Platypus is going to be pitting these 2 guns head to head in a couple of drills. The first drill I'm going to start out with is a accelerator setup, meaning I'm going to stand here at a start point and I have 3 targets downrange, one at 7, 15, and 25 yards. Just going to draw, fire 2 shots in each target, reload, fire 2 shots again. With both setups, I'm going to do that 3 times a piece, and we're going to kind of see what the times, what are the hits comparatively. Also, we're using Winchester 147 grain hollow points for this last bit of evaluation, so a more of a duty round or a kind of better performing round to see actually how they perform against each other. So that's going to be it, and we'll see how they do. Right, that was a 6.23 for the first run, the Platypus. We'll go ahead and shoot the other 2 runs, and we'll score hits all at the end. All right, so that was interesting. So during that kind of course of fire, had a little bit of a actual stovepipe where this spent case got trapped in between the back chamber and the front slide, and then created a double feed situation. So, don't know what that's about, but we will keep evaluating it, seeing why. That wasn't clean, but that was the run in 7.59. Last run, 6.11. Go ahead and check hits. So we can input our scores into the app because it is really cool. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 hits are good. I have 10 alpha and 2 Charlie in the first guy. Next target, looking really, really good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1 Charlie and 11 alphas. And last target, not so good. A little bit worse than the 15-yarder. Having a little bit of just like dragging left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that was a 5 Charlies with math 7 alpha. That was a little squirrely. First run with the Glock is 6.50. Second run with the Glock, 6.02. I think the Glock has a little bit of a favorite going on just because I am immensely more familiar with the platform in general. So take that for what it's worth. That was the last run with the Glock in a 6.46. Had a little bit of a bobble there with the reload, but that's okay. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 1 Charlie and 11 alpha on the first guy. That one going high was my first run. Didn't really see the dot come back and I just yanked the shot. So it was me not inputting with my support hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That is 2 Charlie on the second guy with 10 alpha. Also, another trend, shooting this entire group just to the left. So that's most definitely me and not the gun probably. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 2 Charlie, 2 Delta with 8 alpha. So that's a hit factor of 8.54. And we'll compare those two. Additional input I want to say is I'm actually shooting both of these guns occluded, which means I have the front lens kind of taped up with some black tape, and then black tape where I can see it also. All that does is just give me the ability to target focus a little bit better, and also help with kind of reflector emitter reflection, or like the sun glare coming in. It just gives me better input to actually look crispier at the target and not be focused on the dot or the fake second dot or whatever it may be. Time of 16.93. Check it. Alpha Charlie. Alpha Charlie. 2 Alpha, and that was the guy that was actually supposed to go to that guy. Got 2 steel down. Alpha Charlie. 2 Alpha. Another 2 pieces of steel down. 2 Alpha. Alpha Charlie, because I suck. 2 Charlie, because I really suck. Alpha Charlie. Oh my gosh. And Charlie Delta, because I'm completely afraid of this white guy. Hit factor of 591. That was run 1 with the platypus. Do it again. A little bit of light strike there. That's not normal. 1908, first run with the Glock. 2 alphas on the head box. Another 2 alpha, and not 2 alpha. That's lovely. Running 4 alpha, 2 Charlie so far. 2 alphas. 2 alphas. Nice, nice, nice. 2 alphas. 2 alphas this time. A lot better. Still afraid for some reason. Alpha Charlie. 2 Alpha. Still not good. That was 18 plus 5 is 23. Got 1 Charlie. Yeah. Alright, that was hit factor of 566. That was Glock run 1. That was all kinds of good. 1834. Alpha Charlie. Alpha Charlie. 2 alpha. 2 alphas. Maybe one of these a little high. Alpha Charlie. 2 alphas. Alpha Charlie. 2 alphas. Alpha Charlie. Hey look, it's my first alpha on this target. Alpha Charlie. Hit factor 589. Run 2 with the platypus. Yeah, don't suck. So I have conveniently forgotten about this little fella right here. So 18 and 6 were the alphas at the time of 1834 with a no shoot, which drops the hit factor down to a 534. So my mistake. Man, was that ugly. 1902. Probably shot this a little late, but 2 alphas. 1902. 2 alphas. Alpha Charlie. Alpha Charlie. Alpha Charlie. Alpha Charlie. Another 2 pieces of steel. I think I actually hit the last guy really, really well. 2 alphas. 2 2 alphas. Got some alphas this run. Let's go. Alpha Charlie, what you think? Alpha Charlie. Let's go. 2 alphas, baby. Let's go. Terrible time. Lots of mistakes with the time wise. Hits were decent. Hit factor with the Glock for run number 2 was 5.68. Wow, such a lovely performance it was. Still somehow a 1782. So much better. 1628, that was the last run with the Glock. The last head-to-head evaluation that I'm going to do between the Platypus and the Glock 17 is a drill I do in my practices and I shoot against my buddies and whatever it may be. The drill consists of there's 3 targets downrange and there's 3 different shooting positions. There's one at 7, 15, and 25. You're going to start here at the 25-yard line. Off the beep, you're going to draw, fire 3 shots on each target, run to the 15, 3 shots on each target, run to the 7, 3 shots on each target. So a total of like 18 rounds, I want to say. The targets are spaced like pretty close together. Nothing crazy. You can do open targets, partial targets, whatever it may be. In this particular drill, we're going to go open targets. No mandatory reload. If you want to reload, reload. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But we're going to shoot it 3 times with this guy. Then we're going to score it, shoot it 3 times with the Glock, and see which one is better and which one you should train with and which one you should buy. Well, that was lovely. That was, I wanted to keep the drill going, so that was actually another thing where it was like a spit case got stuck in the chamber like that and then created a double feed. So I'm not sure, honestly, it's probably me rounding my support hand on the slide, the frame up here, and kind of touching it. But those are the only malfunctions I've gotten with this gun so far, so who knows. That was a total time of 1766. We'll score at the very, very end. All right, that was the run number 2 with the Platypus, with this custom drill that I made up with a 1693. All right, that was the last run with the Platypus. I think the best time yet, 1470. Not terrible hits, honestly. I'm actually pretty pleased so far. Let's total everything up. 369. I think I said 18 rounds earlier. It's actually 27. Yes. Math is hard. That was a total time of 49.29 seconds with 19 Charlies and a whole bunch of alphas for a hit factor of 749. So that was with the Platypus. Now let's run with the Glock 17 and see how they compare. On the first shot coming to this position, I just like yanked one low. Time of 14:43. Let's do it again. So much better. 14:48. $14.60 and then a 14.43. So a lot more consistent with the Glock, as you can expect, because I'm more comfortable with this platform. So take that for what it's worth again. Hit factor of 862. That is so 862 with the Glock and a 745 with the Platypus. A lot of that I think is with the time. I think the hits were pretty much similar, but because I'm just so familiar with this platform in general, that's where I think a lot of the time saving was, as well as I kind of figured out, because I forgot how many rounds the drill was, figured out where to reload and kind of how to come in and out of position. So I'm gonna chalk it up to probably maybe even to both guns. All right, so I was doing a little bit of off-camera shooting with this gun, and in the middle of the string, it just stopped. And as you can see, this is an out of battery. I cannot manipulate the safety. Trigger doesn't work, so don't quite know what that was. The bullet doesn't seem to be out of spec or anything like that. Like, it looks like similar bullets. We're gonna try this exact bullet again. So, I don't know what that was, but it was a little bit of an out of battery. But now she seems to be running fine. .254, but oh, well, that was weird. That was one-handed shooting with no mag. Had the brass. So I'm starting to think, so we've been running this thing occluded, and as you can see, there's a little bit of like tearing and marring going on. I am wondering if this SRO, which, I mean, you can see it covers the ejection port over it. I'm wondering if that is actually what's causing a little bit of these ejection issues, is the actual SRO covering the ejection port instead of me touching this slide. That would make more sense. And if we caught this earlier in the evaluation, we might have like switched to an RMR or a delta point and actually saw what happened. But we will have to note that in our evaluation. And now that I'm looking at it as well, this screw is completely loose. Holy crap. That's lovely. Oh, you can just wiggle that thing all the way around. Okay, well, let's go take care of that. Let's actually put an RMR on it and actually see if it works. All right, I just got done changing over to an RMR on here because I had a hypothesis that the SRO was actually causing some of the stovepipe issues of actually catching the sprint brass in the ejection port area thing. Bob. I'm not a gunsmith. So have the RMR on top of here. If that issue persists, we know it's not going to be the SRO. If it doesn't happen anymore, we're going to just chalk it up to it actually being that issue. So now we have a little bit of a accelerator designated target set up, and we're going to do some of the shootings. It might help if you zero the RMR. So y'all remember that thing I said about the SRO causing some of the issues? Maybe not. Maybe it is actually me. Maybe it is the gun. We shall see. Now let's do a little bit of a designated target. Golly. Okay. I did feel myself touching the slide a little bit, but not that much. That's a little ridiculous. Starting to be a little bit concerning. I'm gonna try to touch the slide and see if I can induce it. I can stop the slide. So that was all of those rounds. Like, I'm thoroughly pushing into the slide to make it malfunction, and it's not malfunctioning. I'm not gonna touch the slide at all. I don't know, that is a weird issue that I am not able to pin down. So we're just gonna keep training, see what happens. Golly! That is weird. Especially the first run where I could get through without having a malfunction. So we are getting to the end of this evaluation, and this is a lot of stovepipe issues. It is a little bit cold outside today, so the oil or grease in the gun could be kind of being chilled up. However, the gun is hot, so I don't think it's that. I actually think there might just need to be a good deep clean on this gun for this to continue to rack, or for it continue to work. So, lovely. Those were the last rounds that we are firing through this one for the initial evaluation. Overall, I'm not gonna give any spoilers away just yet. We're actually gonna go back to the armory, and myself, Brandon, and Isaac are gonna gather around and kind of see what we each think about this pistol and give some pros and cons and give y'all more information for y'all to be better prepared to either buy it or not buy it. So, let's go.
All right, so the gun has been out at the range. It's been fully tested. All questions have been answered. I'll start with you, Brantley, because I have a rough idea of what you're gonna say. What are you gonna say?
It's a good shooting gun. I was quite impressed with it. My expectations for it were like really, really high. And then as soon as I shot it, they like dropped to like really, really low. And then I was like slowly working my way up as I continued to shoot it. I don't think I'm personally gonna be buying one, but I could understand if other people bought them.
For reference, when you said your expectations dropped really low, like how low? Like, is that high point low?
No.
High power low? 'Cause high power
maybe
low
like a
is quite
crappy
good.
SIG low, probably.
Okay, so that was how far it went, and then when it came back up, like, on what level would you put your final answer, comparison-wise?
So I personally had some issues towards the tail end of it, so I wouldn't give the reliability side of it close to a 1911 or close to a Glock, but I would say it actually shoots smoother and more controllable than a Glock for sure.
Okay, I mean, that is kind of what you want from a 2011/1911 system. So, Brandon.
So I said I was going to do a lot of the accuracy type shooting and didn't get to that. I got kind of what I wanted out of the accuracy testing that we did just on comparing the groups to the Glock, and then just that one drill shooting both hands and then shooting with a normal grip. So the way the gun shot, extremely surprised with how it compared to the my Glock 17. So my personal Glock 17, I've been I've had for almost 3 years. This has been almost the only pistol that I've shot and trained with exclusively. I shoot some pistols, some different pistols here and there, but when it comes down to actually training, this is really the only pistol I've actually trained with and competed with. Day one shooting this 1911 double stack 9mm, I was already performing better than I did with my Glock, which is a huge surprise. I expected to still shoot my Glock better no matter what, even after 1,000 rounds in a day, because I've been shooting this for so long. But times were better, groups were better, everything about that gun performed better, which very surprised on. So again, for the sport I train for and that I compete in, 1911s, 2011s dominate that sport because of how accurate they are, and because we do kind of bullseye type shooting. Now, when it comes down to shooting two-handed, so Glock versus that two-handed type shooting, you're not going to see much of a difference accuracy-wise. At least you shouldn't. But like I said, I still was able to shoot the gun a little bit faster, even with that normal grip. So I didn't have any issues. You just saw the issues with me shooting left hand with kind of a limp wrist. That's what I kind of chalked it up to. But Brantley had issues with the same ammo. So when it comes down to reliability, we don't necessarily have an answer right now because
it's not a super conclusive test. But
yeah, we changed up some things. I originally thought it was going to be like me inducing a little bit of slide pressure into it with some support hand thumb, or even just like the meat of my hand. Then we switched up to like, maybe it was the SRO going too far past the ejection port. We switched to the RMR. It still had the issues. So I really honestly still don't know why they were having the issue in the first place. So until we can kind of say what the issue was and why it was being caused, we can't really say how reliable it actually is. Because if it's something that's very, very small or minute, then it could be a reliable gun and we just didn't do something correctly. Or this could be an actually unreliable gun. We can't really say that for certain.
Yeah. But obviously we expect something with tighter tolerances, with less flex, with less give than the Glock platform, to be a little bit more finicky. There's no perfect gun, there's only trade-offs. So
definitely. And that can be very much so from even once Brandon got done shooting his 1,200, 1,300 rounds, it was a very like sluggish feeling gun. Like you could feel some grit and some grime in the rails. Once I started shooting, or before I started shooting, cleaned it, lubed it, and it was like a totally different feel of the gun. Like it was very, very noticeable. And that's something personally, I haven't really felt a lot with Glocks.
They like,
very, very dirty.
They like to have a little bit of gunge.
Yes, and from shooting like 2,000 rounds in a Glock and brand new Glock, there's really going to be the same kind of slide feel. That was not the case with this gun. Doesn't mean that it shoots bad, but it's different.
It's a higher maintenance gun, unsurprisingly. So the interesting thing to me about this gun, like we talked about earlier, was just the fact that it is trying to be the best of two worlds. It is supposed to have that 1911 trigger. It is supposed to take Glock mags and have something more like the Glock reliability. In terms of price, how would you compare this thing? Because it is very similar to a Glock 34 in a lot of functional ways, and there's a pretty different price difference. And then it's fairly comparable to a Staccato in a couple of other ways, and then the price is a little bit different the other way. So like, you're kind of interested in it, you're less interested in it, but where it falls on the table, what do you think about the cost? I mean, admittedly, you can trick it out with a ton of customizations and make it expensive, but it sits at a sub $2,000 base model with all the functional upgrades, which is pretty low for a tricked out race gun.
Yeah, for what you get out of the box, like coming from Stealth Arms, I think it's actually pretty good. For what, 18? For this one was 18. For a customizable one, you get it for like 2K. I think that's a pretty good deal, honestly, for like what all you get. I do wish you could swap out and actually get a steel frame. I think that would be like the one change.
I was going to ask about the aluminum frame, because the aluminum frame is one of those kind of worst of both worlds things.
Yeah, it was better than I expected. I thought it was actually going to hit a lot harder and just recoil much more, like just feel into the hands. I didn't really get that. I was able to control it very well. I like the very aggressive texture. I wouldn't want to go any less aggressive.
There is a more aggressive one.
Is there really?
There is a sharper one. This one has gotten some more tumbling. I think that's the difference. But there's an extra prickly one, which I bet you is blood drawing capability.
Yeah. But I mean, if you get you have a $2,000 gun versus call it a $650, $700 Glock, you're going to put a $150 trigger in it. If you want to go up from there, you're going to get possibly slide milling if it's not MOS, possibly a different recoil spring, maybe a little bit of spring kits in the slide words, and you're going to be closer to that probably $1,200, $1,300 range, and so you're still not as expensive, but you probably might get a little bit of the benefit of like the 2011, 1911 platform maybe.
Yeah.
How about you, Brandon?
You buying one?
So the downside,
It wasn't a no.
it's not a no. So I am 100% going to a 2011 style pistol for next season. Again, as I bump up to the elite division, just to be more competitive with the other guys in the division who are shooting this gun. It's like, imagine going to shoot a USPSA match with your Glock and you're literally competing against open guys. There is a disadvantage there. So yes, you could still definitely beat them, but at the end of the day, this gun is going to shoot more accurately than this gun with the type of shooting we do in the tactical game. So I am swapping to a 2011 of some kind. The question is which one? And the downside to the Platypus, given that it's so modular and you get to customize it, you get to do whatever colors you want, it has a humongous lead time. It's 6 months right now, which is really unfortunate. I mean, that means the gun has a high demand, but so as it sits right now, I can't purchase a gun and wait half a season for it to come in. I have to qualify for nationals, and nationals is only a year away. So
yeah. That is, so there's a great upside and downside. I'm glad we're talking about this aspect now. So one of the coolest things about the Platypus is that it is a very cool new design and they make it all in-house. The downside is, of course, that lead time. They make these things almost all to order, the same way that we make holsters, but it's way more complicated than a holster. They have a really cool web configurator that's way more complicated than ours. But they do occasionally make, the reason we got this one as quick as we did is because they do occasionally make in-stock ones, but there are no in-stock ones right now. The lead time is high. I'm guessing demand on this thing is super, super high right now. So yeah, it's a blessing and a curse, I guess, to have something that is this popular and made this way. Now, I'll be honest with you, we are being way too nuanced in our takes here. Remember, gentlemen, this is the internet, so you're really only allowed one of two takes. Either this is the Glock killer that will replace every handgun on the face of the planet, or it will get you killed in the streets, and it is some sort of grift, some sort of scam. So those are the only two options you can actually pick.
It might get you killed in the streets. Like I said, if we can't if we can't diagnose those issues that we had, or that I personally had in the end shooting that 147 grain Winchester, then it might not be reliable. It was, I would say, perfectly reliable for 2,500 rounds. I mean, so that's a pretty good life cycle before a heavy deep clean, I would say, for this gun in particular, of a heavier maintenance gun. Mm-hmm. So maybe it just needs a deep clean, the extractor channel needs to be cleaned out, maybe retimed or retensioned, I think, and then maybe it'll run good. Not quite sure, but
it's one of the downsides of the way we test things, because we'll set like a round count with what we want to do to a gun, and then sometimes problems start to arise at the very end, and we hit what our goal is. So say with this gun, this was about 3,500 rounds total.
We already have a to-do list for next week.
Yeah, so we did everything we wanted to do, but now we have more questions that we need to answer. So, but unfortunately, this is the end of the project. So we'll continue to use it and
continue to play with it, continue to tinker with it. Yeah, one of the things that I want to do, I didn't want to do it before we did some testing, but I want to get inside of this thing and mess with it. The 1911, that is my sort of gold standard. It's hilarious to call this thing gold standard because it is a Franken gun, and the frame and slide are terrible. But the internals are good, and it's highly tweaked, it's highly tuned. This thing could do with a little tweaking and a little tuning. It could definitely do with a better safety. This is my favorite 1911 safety I've ever had.
Yes.
And so there's a bunch of things that we could do to improve this platform and understand a little better, but it will take time, and it's not going to be something that we talk about next week. Do we have anything else that we want to particularly talk about or cover?
I will say, I mean, I think we kind of glossed over it maybe a couple times, but like the ability to take Glock mags, I think, is actually a huge thing.
It is a huge thing.
Because, I mean, mags are not cheap. I mean, Glock mags are cheap. I mean, they're $20 for the tube, $40 for an extendo. Staccato mags are pushing, what, $80?
I think they're 69.
69 bucks.
70 bucks.
I mean, that's not just like a drop in the bucket money. So if you already have a Glock set up and you have your stockpile of mags or whatever it may be, like getting a gun that takes those mags is, my opinion, probably going to be more beneficial to you than actually buying a 2011 or a Staccato, maybe not a Staccato, whatever it may be, an Atlas, and then having to buy a dozen of all those other mags to kind of complete that.
Yeah, if you're buying as many mags as you should be buying,
yes,
it's very expensive.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that's a huge thing. And even just like kit considerations. Like if you're having a Glock mag versus a 2011 mag, like that's different rag carriers for us. Instead of having to swap those out, you literally keep the same mags on your belt, grab the different gun, keep rolling with that, and that is a hugely beneficial aspect of it. That kind of is the main staple of it, but also we want to make sure we don't gloss over that as well.
It's a fantastic way to get into the 2011 space while keeping a bunch of your existing stuff running.
100%.
The other thing that I really don't know the answer to, sometimes gun companies come out with guns and they make weapon design look easy. Other times people come out with guns and it looks like it's the hardest thing in the world to do, and there's just issues galore. And I would say that Stealth Arms is making gun design look easy. A 2011 with Glock mags is like the holy grail, and they came out with something that may not be the perfect Glock killer that everybody's going to be running in the future, but like this is a phenomenal effort from a company that you probably never heard of before. There is one other thing that I would like to say about them in their favor. I was saving a compliment for them in case this thing was terrible on the range.
You keep looking at me for that.
I don't know why I keep looking at you when I talk about if things were terrible, because I thought that you were going to break the gun.
I was going to say bad things. He was going to break it.
Yeah. One of the things that's kind of impressive to me is that Stealth Arms sells 80% lowers of 2011s and 1911s of different types, which is, from a manufacturing standpoint, really easy. You just do less work and then you sell an unfinished thing to the customer. But from a political perspective, that's actually kind of a risky thing. That's potentially a liability. It got Polymer 80 and a bunch of other companies in a bunch of trouble with the ATF. So the fact that Stealth Arms is willing to make and sell 80% lowers of some of the guns that they make is, I think, a big, I would say kudos to them for that. That's something that impresses me about them. The fact that their website works so well, the fact that they're making this stuff from scratch, the fact that they make complex hybrids of finicky guns actually work and make it look easy is kind of a big deal. You should check out an Ian McCollum video from last week where he talks about failed handguns and failed handgun companies, because this is not a common level of attempt and achievement in one go. It's kind of worth calling that out and saying that is an impressive feat of engineering and manufacturing at the same time. So yeah, I think we're going to keep playing with it. They're going to be tinkering with it. Are you going to take this one
I will
compete with if I can adjust the trigger for you?
Well, we do have a really cool holster in development that I need for the sport, so if we can get our really new cool holster to work with that as
Why
a prototype.
are we both looking at Brantley again?
It might be because I'm holding it.
Said it's going to hinge partially on the holster.
So if Brantley does do all the work of getting a holster for you, give it a shot?
Yeah, I will most likely use it for sure. I will say we don't have a ton of experience to compare against other 2011s, 1911s on the market, and there's not a lot of different options out there to compare it to anyways, but based on what we saw through our very small testing with our sample size of one, and also the feedback that I see online about this thing, this is probably the most reliable option out there right now. And that's just based on the information that we can see and the information we've got. Yes, we had some issues with it, but my idea right now is those issues was ammo related. We've had Winchester issues before. Same thing here. We're shooting Winchester ammo and that's what we had problems with. I'm not gonna say definitively that's what the problem is, but that's more likely the problem than the gun given what we see online with this gun.
Yeah, very cool. Well, we came out of this with the gun handled and was appreciated by you guys more than I thought, and it broke. It was more reliable than I thought, and nothing broke, which I was very happy to see. But
And it kind of works in 320 holsters. Don't recommend you buying a 320
Kind of.
holster.
it kind of was.
Please do not buy a 320 holster. You will have the same issues that we had of
The
twisting the gun in, hitting the mag release button, and one shot and mag drops.
The 320 holster is one of the tallest holsters. So once you get an X300 on here, there's room in the 320 holster. It becomes a nice bucket. You can kind of grab the X300, but yeah, I love how slim this is. That's the question. We're talking about this as a race gun. Would you ever carry this gun? Would you ever carry the Commander version of this gun? Do you think Stealth Arms should make a 19 version that takes 19 mags? Would you carry that?
So
would you allow that to get you killed in the streets?
So, okay, this could prolong this video even longer. So if you're at this point, I appreciate you being here. If you train and compete with a certain firearm, that's the gun you should carry, because the gun that you're competent with is going to be far better than the most reliable gun in the world. So if this is the gun you're going out and training with, if they decide to make a Glock 19 or even a Glock 48 version, so it takes those 10-round mags, that'd be really cool. because I will say there's a significant grip angle difference between these two guns. It was one of the problems I had, and I shoot a lot, and I'm not the greatest shooter in the world, but I generally don't have an index issue, as in finding the dot when I present. And when I swapped between the two, this gun was like pointing up in the air. So if I was competing, training with this gun, and I had to carry this gun, for example, and I had to index, present my gun on someone and my dot's pointing up in the air, that's a problem. So.
All right, well, I guess we finished the video by saying kudos to Stealth Arms for making this. I also appreciate that they have a cool animal name that is also kind of a silly joke. Here at T.REX Arms, we appreciate that sort of humor. Yeah, we would be interested in a grip chopped version of this with a slightly shortened sear trigger and spring setup right there. I think you can make it work. Then we'd run 19 mags. I might carry it. Well, thanks so much for watching that video. I'm still relatively impressed by this thing, partly because I have tried to pick a whole bunch of new cool guns in the past, and it has always backfired in me. So I have Caracal, I have PA-63 Makarov pistols, which also have aluminum frames and are terrible to shoot. And then this is my personal 1911. So yeah, the fact that we bought this thing and it outperformed even my high expectations, yeah, pretty happy.
And then we say the closer. Or you should say the closer.
What's the closer?
Appreciate you watching. Until next time.
Oh. Appreciate you watching. Until next time.
They're on paper.